Good morning, everybody. Many thanks for joining me today. Apologies, we're a few minutes late. We've had some technical issues, which is another reason you can't see me. It doesn't seem to be working with a camera and a slide deck. So many thanks for joining me today. I'm thrilled to have been invited along to this virtual village hall and have the chance to work with Royal Voluntary Service. My name is Tracy and I work for Legal and General as a business manager for the health and care team. And I'm here today to talk about long-term care. Now, I want to start off today just by sharing my story, just to give you some background as to why I'm here. But before I do, I just want to say that I'm aware that most likely you're all here for different reasons. Some of you may be looking after a friend or a loved one, perhaps even supporting them with daily tasks. Some of you may want some general information on the topic. And of course, some of you may feel that perhaps you need some extra support with certain things now yourselves and just want to find out a little bit more about what help is available and how you can go about finding it. So I will be talking a fair bit today and referring to you throughout the session. So I just want to be clear that I do understand that when I say you throughout the session, it might not necessarily mean for yourself, but it can also mean for a friend or a loved one that you are perhaps supporting. So, why am I here? Well, I've been working in the long term care industry now for just over 8 years. It was following a personal experience which led me to decide to specialise in this area. I had been working at a company which provided a financial solution to help pay for care for a few years when my mother in law was diagnosed with dementia. Now, it was a really stressful time, and it was made worse by the fact that this crept up on all of us very, very suddenly. We were not prepared. We didn't know who to turn to. We didn't know who to talk to. And we had no legal powers in place to be able to look after her financial affairs. My sister in law at the time took charge of arranging care, but given my current job role, I was left to try and unpick all the pieces surrounding the legal and financial elements that we were facing and had to tackle. Now, it's safe to say the biggest struggle we faced was around the lack of power we had in order to sort out her affairs. We couldn't pay bills. We were unable to pay for her care because we couldn't access her finances. We weren't able to cancel direct debits for rent at her previous home. And after looking into what legal powers we needed and understanding that we had no easy route at that time because she had now lost capacity to make decisions, we ended up spending 2.5 years in a state of stress, emotional heartache, and uncertainty. Her journey through care was not a good experience, not for her and not for us as family members, I can assure you. We felt completely helpless. But it was at that time that I decided then I wanted to learn everything I could possibly learn about this journey, about this industry. Because if I could do one thing from that moment on, I just wanted to help as many people as I could, just to help others have a good experience. And that is what makes me happy. So, my aim today is to talk to you about the care journey as a whole, some of the processes and options involved, and things that you can do now, long before care is even thought about for someone, that can potentially help you and your families in future years have a better, smoother experience than what I did. So, I'm going to start off at the beginning of the journey and have a look at powers of attorney, legal and mental capacity. Now, many people believe or think that if they lose mental capacity, their next of kin, such as a spouse or a child, will be able to make decisions on their behalf. Whilst actually, family should be consulted in these situations, the ultimate decision will not lie with them unless you've set up a valid power of attorney. Now, a power of attorney is a legal document that gives you the power for someone to make decisions about your finances or your welfare on your behalf if you're unable to do so. You can only set up these powers whilst you have mental capacity to make your own decisions. So it's always best to get these in place early on before it's too late, like it was for us. So let's have a look at the two main types. There's lasting powers of attorney and enduring powers of attorney. You'll see on the screen, I've created a little table just to show the main differences, and I'll talk through those now. So, with property and financial affairs, lasting powers of attorney. This document gives someone else permission to make decisions about your finances and your property either now or in the future. A lasting power of attorney for health and welfare is what you'll need in order to give someone permission to make decisions about any medical care, your care arrangements, and wider welfare if you're not able to. There's also something called an enduring power of attorney. Now, these were able to be created up until the end of September 2007, so they can't be created anymore. The lasting powers of attorney have taken over. But it is possible that you might find yourself acting for someone else with one of these older enduring power of attorney documents. It's important to note that enduring powers of attorney, however, will only cover decisions about finances and property. So if you have one in place for yourself and you are also looking to give someone permissions to make decisions about your health or welfare, you will need to create a new health and welfare lasting power of attorney to run alongside it. It can be used in conjunction with the enduring power of attorney, but as I say, the enduring power of attorneys only cover financial decisions. They also cannot be used once capacity has been lost unless they have been registered with the Office of Public Guardian. Now, putting a power of attorney in place, as I found out the hard way, is really, really important. So you should be aware of some things before choosing what to do. Firstly, you'll need to decide who you would like to act on your behalf should you become unable to make your own decisions. You can ask more than one person to be involved in making those decisions for you if you wish, and you can also specify for them to either work together or separately. You need to then decide what permissions you would like to give them, whether you would want support for decisions about your finances and property, your health and your welfare, or both. Now, if you've not made a power of attorney and then lose capacity to make your own decisions, then whoever will be acting on your behalf will need to approach the Court of Protection for something called a deputyship order. Now, putting a deputyship order in place can be really time consuming. It takes on average about 6 months, and it's also quite expensive, and there will be ongoing costs. Now, setting up a deputyship order can cost thousands of pounds with ongoing annual supervision fees also due, which is much more financially stressful if you consider that setting up and registering a power of attorney now only costs £82 and they can be completed online. With deputyship orders as well, your powers are also quite limited by the Court of Protection, and you're unlikely to be given the authority to make any health and welfare decisions on behalf of someone else. Usually, they will only offer powers concerning finances. Now, once you've decided what powers you wish to give and to who, you can complete the necessary paperwork for a lasting power of attorney yourself on the government's website, or if your finances are a little more complicated or you need some help, you can ask for help from a solicitor. Now, whilst you're preparing for the future, it's also a good time to think about making a will, or at least check that your existing one reflects your current wishes. So having an up-to-date will in place is the best way to make sure that your assets are given to the people that you want it to go to. So moving on, we'll have a little look now at the types of care. Um, if you find yourself perhaps needing some extra support or are in a situation where you need to look to support a loved one with finding care services, understanding the different types of care is really important. There we go. It would help if I was on the right slide. Now, too often we believe the only options available are to go into a nursing home or a care home to help with personal tasks like washing and dressing. But there are so many more options, and support can start at home. So let's have a look through the most common alternatives. Now, for many people, their own home is understandably where they'd like to enjoy their later life. Taking some time to think about how you could maybe adapt or improve your home to meet your needs now and in the future could help you or a loved one stay in the home safely for longer. Now, there are lots of home help services or home care services that can help support people in their own homes too. So, examples could be tools to help from opening jars and bottles to buttoning up clothing, to making it easier for people to prepare and eat meals, little gadgets as well that are specifically designed to make everyday life a little bit easier can help you live safely and independently at home for as long as possible. Now, walking aids are another really useful tool which can be provided. So, if you or a loved one are beginning to feel perhaps a little less steady on your feet around the house or when you're out and about, things like walking sticks, frames, wheelchairs, they're often available on free long term loans from your GP. So, if you need any form of equipment that isn't available from your GP, you may need to pay for it yourself. But if needed, you can talk to your doctor first for more information about the support that they have available for you or a loved one directly from the NHS. So, it's a great place to start. Now, for many people, keeping up with personal hygiene may be the struggle that we notice first. It certainly was with my mother in law. Now, it's often within our bathrooms where we start to notice our homes becoming less accessible to us. So we may find it hard, for example, getting in and out of the bath, which is a common problem for people, especially with conditions such as arthritis. So again, adaptations, there are special seats made for showers, grip mats for slippery surfaces, and walk-in baths, which are all options to help keep your bathroom easy to use and safe to use. And sometimes for loved ones and ourselves, all that's actually needed is just a small practical change, like installing a handrail in a hallway or a ramp on the steps that go into your home to delay a permanent move into care. This can make all the difference in terms of being able to stay at home for longer whilst remaining safe and independent. Now, generally, your local authority should supply and install any minor adaptations they've agreed that you need up to the value of £1,000 free of charge. So, if you do feel like you could potentially benefit from some adaptations to your property, contact your local authority to request an assessment from an occupational therapist. Now, for those who are a little bit worried about what would happen should an accident occur, or what would happen if a loved one had an accident, there's something out there called telecare services which can help. Now, telecare services are simply different forms of alarms. So, usually, this could involve wearing a pendant around your neck or around your wrist, making it easy for you to raise an alarm to a specified contact if you fall or you start to feel unwell. Now, there's lots of new technology. It's always ever evolving, and the latest technology gives you more ways to put my teeth in, sorry, stay safe and keep connected to family and friends. So there's things such as smart lighting, which will automatically light a room or a corridor as you walk through it. And we can even get things like pressure pads now installed in the floors, which will raise an alarm if someone were to fall. You can also set up these telecare services to speak directly to a trained nurse or a carer for advice and reassurance should you need it and you need to press that button. So just remember, there's lots of support available, probably more than you would expect. Now, Royal Voluntary Service, as I'm sure you all know, provides local services for the community, such as activities, Good Neighbours scheme, and all things like that to help out with odd jobs and offer companionship. Now, your local authority can also tell you about the services they provide, such as community transport services to help you get out and about, Meals on Wheels, and once again, home adaptation services that can help you live safely and independently. Now, if you need care or help, I should say, with any personal care, then you may wish to hire in or a registered home care agency. So, personal care includes things such as support with washing, dressing, preparing medications, perhaps getting in and out of bed and using the bathroom. So, if you're worried about how you or a loved one could potentially pay for some services such as home care, make sure that you're claiming all the financial support you are entitled to, as well as state benefits. So, the best place to start is by asking for an assessment of your needs from your local authority. Once they agree on what your needs are, they will then conduct a financial assessment and let you know if you're entitled to any free financial support. I'll move on to that shortly in a moment and go into a bit more detail about those assessments. Now, other house options or housing options could be live-in care, where a carer comes to stay with you 24 hours a day, or specialist housing. Living care is actually now a very popular option for those who need lots of support but wish to stay at home. It involves having a full-time carer move into your home. They will need their own bedroom and they usually work on a 2 weekly rota with another carer. And now, in addition to supporting your care needs and offering you companionship, they will also help with other domestic tasks such as cleaning, cooking, washing, and shopping. If you're looking at more domestic help around the home, but you don't need a trained professional carer, then a live-in personal assistant could be a more affordable option for you. Specialist housing, which is also known as retirement housing or sheltered housing or retirement villages, retirement communities, I'm sure you've heard one of those. They can offer you the independence of having your own front door, your self contained property, whilst also having on site support services such as wardens and nurses. Now, for some people as well, only short term care is required. There may have been, for instance, a recent need to go into hospital, such as an accident or an injury. So, if there has been a recent stay in hospital, the NHS or local authority might be able to offer some temporary care just to help you get back on your feet at home and have the chance to recuperate. It's free and it usually lasts for up to about 6 weeks, and it can help reduce the chances that you will need to go back into hospital and help you rebuild your confidence to live independently once again. So, moving on to the local authority assessments, as I've mentioned those a few times in the last few minutes, um, you would have heard me mention firstly a care needs assessment. So, now is a good chance to have a brief look at what that means. So, a care needs assessment forms the first part of a local authority assessment. The second part of that is an assessment of finances or financial assessment. So, I just want to spend a little bit of time explaining why it is important to get these done. And there are a few reasons. So, requesting a care needs assessment from your local authority allows them to look at your care needs and your finances to understand what level of support you need and how it can be paid for. So, even if you're going to be paying for care yourself, it is still really important to ask for this free assessment because it will enable you to decide what care might be right for you and your loved ones, and also get a good indication of cost and what options are available to you. Requesting one of these assessments, even if you're self funding, also make sure that you are screened for eligibility to any free care from the NHS. Because let's face it, we don't want to be missing out on any free services that are available, and we don't want to be paying out for care that we don't have to pay for. So, anyone bypassing the local authority could be missing out on free care. It's also really important to request this assessment to allow the local authority to set up an account for you. So you may have seen in the news of late, to be honest, it's been in and out of the news probably for about 30 years, the social care reform and the proposals around that. Now, I won't go into extreme detail here because actually it is rather complicated, but essentially the government are thinking of setting up a limit on the amount that people must pay towards their care throughout their lifetime. Now, once that limit is reached, then an extra financial support could be given by the government and local authorities. Now, it's not completely crystal clear because not all money that you spend on care will go towards that limit. But if you don't speak to your local authority, there'll be no way of keeping track of any spending, meaning that there'll be no record of when you hit that spending limit. So as a result, again, you could miss out on some financial assistance during that care journey if you don't go for that assessment. Now, anyone can request a care needs assessment, and you need to request this from your local authority. Now, if it's not clear which local authority you fall under, perhaps you sit on the border of two, then essentially it is up to the local authorities to almost battle it out and settle it between themselves. But one of them will need to take responsibility for assessing your needs and, if needed, pay for your care until they resolve that for you. So, as I say, to arrange an assessment, just get in touch with your local authority's adult social care team. You can do this for yourself, or you can do it for someone else or a friend, or you can even ask a GP to do this for you if you feel more comfortable. Now, if you are arranging an assessment on behalf of someone else, perhaps you're looking after a parent, you will need to ask their permission. There are no rules around how quickly the assessment must be done, but waiting times do depend on the urgency of your need and how at risk you or your loved one might be. Now, government guidance to local authorities says they have a duty to carry out the assessment as soon as appropriate and reasonable. Average timescales prior to COVID were around 4 weeks. There is a bit of a backlog, but I believe that they are starting to get back down to that normal timescale now. Now, there are different forms of these assessments too. A care needs assessment may be carried out face to face, online, or over the phone. It could be as well that they combine all of those methods, and it may be necessary to have a joint assessment where different agencies or different people will work together to assess you in one appointment rather than asking you to have multiple assessments. Now, recognizing that you might need some care or support can be really challenging, and so can asking for the support itself. But just remember that a care needs assessment is there to help you understand what help is needed to protect the quality of life you or your loved one has. Now, a few things to help with an assessment can be things like make a list of what needs you feel you might have or you feel a loved one has. This could include things like what tasks do myself or my loved one find difficult? What do we find painful or challenging? And it is wise to keep a diary for a few days just to note down any activities that you or your loved one cannot manage. And with that, a note of how you're feeling as well. Lists of medication can support your assessor as well, and it helps them understand your health background. Now, you can always ask for support from a friend or a loved one, and you can have someone join you for your assessments if you want them to. Now, there are three parts to a local authority assessment. The first part is to look at your care and support needs and allows the local authority to understand what type of care is right for you. So, you'll be asked questions about your daily life and any tasks that you've started to find challenging or perhaps even no longer able to do. You can expect to talk about your physical health, but the local authorities should also consider your general well-being, your emotional well-being, and any cultural needs as well. So, if there is a particular part of your life which is really, really important to you, and you're worried you will no longer be able to carry on with it because of poor health or disability, it's important to make your assessor aware of that. Now, the second part of the assessment is deciding on the right level of care and the type of care, and understanding whether the local council will provide that for you or be able to at least arrange it for you. Excuse me. Now, both of these parts form the care needs assessment. After the assessment, the person who carries this out should then let you know whether the local authority will be able to provide any care or arrange it for you, and they will give you a copy of your own care plan. The care plan will include a summary of your needs, what support you'll need to meet those needs, and an explanation of any changes or charges, you may need to pay, information about the help that carers and others can give you, a date when your assessment will be reviewed again. Okay, so it's quite a comprehensive plan. Now, finally, the last part of the assessment is then the assessment of finances. It's simply known as the financial assessment, and it decides who will cover the cost of any care that might be needed for either yourself or your loved one. Now, this allows the local authority to assess and then confirm if you need to pay for any care that you require. If you will be receiving any financial support from the local authority, um, either the local authority can arrange the care for you, or if you would prefer to arrange the care for yourself, you're free to do so. And the local authority will then pay you for that. But you should ensure that the care provider can meet your needs, they have availability, and that their costs are within the personal budget that your local authority has set you. So once you've found a care provider, let your local authority know, and they'll be able to discuss the payment arrangements with you and the care provider directly. Okay, so the local authority will assess whether they need to pay towards your care, and if so, how much. Now, if you need to pay for your own care, you then have the right to request help from the local authority to at least find services that meet your needs for that care in your own home. The local authority has a legal duty to help you, but they are allowed to charge you a reasonable arrangement fee for that service. So just be mindful of that. However, many people do like to arrange the care themselves anyway. So, who to contact will depend on the type of care you require and where you want this to be provided. But I would like to just share a few tips for finding the best quality care for your needs. So, firstly, check the providers with the regulators. All personal care providers in the UK have to register with the care regulator. Now, they are called the Care Quality Commission in England, and it means care providers need to follow a strict conduct code of conduct and have regular inspections of their services. Now, there are different regulators for different parts of the country. So, if you're in Wales, the regulator is the Care Inspectorate Wales. For Scotland, it's the Care Inspectorate. And for Northern Ireland, the regulator is called Regulation and Quality Improvement Authority. Nice and brief. It is useful to check with these websites just to see which care providers are regulated and which ones are not. Now, at Legal and General, we also have a database of care providers which is free to use. So you can go online and search for care within your area and contact the providers that best suit your needs. So, by simply entering your postcode, all registered providers within a set radius, which you select, will be displayed along with their contact details, pricing information, specialisms such as dementia care, and also their availability where we have it, because we do rely on them keeping that up to date. It's really important that you're comfortable with the care provider that you choose and you know what to expect from them. So make sure you ask all the questions you have. Some really good questions to get you started could be things like, what background checks do your carers go through? Will we always have the same carer? What happens if they go on holiday or if they're sick? What happens if I don't get on with my carer? And how will they access my house if I can't let them in? How much does this cost per hour? And will this increase at weekends or bank holidays? So there's some good starting questions. Now, if you are looking into care homes, um, specifically care homes, good questions for them would be things like, are there set visiting hours? Can I have visitors or go and visit at any time? What happens if my care needs change or my need increases? And what was the result of your most recent inspection? And what plans do you have to ensure that you're continually improving the environment for your residents? Now, I won't continue going through loads and loads of questions because it will be hard to remember them, but Age UK have a really useful checklist when searching for care homes, which can be accessed online. Now, finally, if you are looking after a loved one, as an unpaid carer, it's also important to remember that the local authority may also be able to check whether they can support you as a carer. It's called a carer's assessment. So there may be state benefits that you can claim to help you financially, and the local authority might be able to offer you respite care or training to help you care for a loved one as well. So you can ask for this carer's assessment at the same time as you request the care need assessment for the person that actually requires the care. Either that, or you can ask for it separately just by contacting the adult social care team. So we've had a look at the different types of care available. We've also had a look now at how to get assessed, just to ensure you know what types of care will meet your needs. So I want to move on to how to pay for it. All of my slides are all over the place. Here we go. How to pay for it. Um, Now, by the time your local authority assessment is completed and sent to you, you will know whether you're able to get any financial assistance from them or not. Now, the screening is quite detailed, and there are certain types of capital and income in the financial assessment, which the local authority can and some which they cannot take into account. But generally, in really simple terms, if you have over £23,250 of assets in England, you will be expected to pay for your own care. If you have less than this amount, you should be able to get some financial assistance. Now, most people who need care find that they usually have to cover some or all of the costs themselves, and it can be quite daunting. Having a little understanding around the potential costs can help you choose your next steps carefully and avoid having to potentially move into a care home later on if your needs or your costs change. Now, care home fees, for example, can be quite significant. And again, they vary depending on where you live and what needs you have. So we've detailed here the average cost of nursing care and the average cost of residential care per week for some different regions in the UK. Now, for most care homes, you can easily expect to pay around £800 to £1,000 per week, if not more, for basic personal care. Now, on this slide, you'll see I've detailed some average costs, which are taken from some industry research. These figures are already 2 years old, meaning they have probably increased already, but trying to get up to date figures has been rather tricky. It should still give you a good idea. Now, personal care is help with washing, dressing, feeding, as I mentioned earlier, and provided in a residential home, which is that third column. Nursing care is for those who need nursing support, such as changing dressings or administering medications via injection, for example. So, if nursing care is required or any specialist care for a specific condition, such as dementia, this will usually increase. And as we can see, the costs in that second column for nursing care are a little bit more than the costs for residential care as a result. Now, for care at home, in your own home, there is an average cost of around £21 per hour, which covers the UK living wage for care workers, their travel time, their mileage, and any wage related costs. And again, this does, however, vary differently depending on where you live and what needs you have. So, as a result, it's very important to think about how long your money can actually last and what you can do to make sure it lasts for as long as possible. Now, care can often be needed for long periods of time, sometimes longer than we may think. And so it's really important just to try and avoid running out of money. Now, financial advice can help with this. Just like different types of care, there are many ways to ensure that your money lasts for as long as possible. And some of these methods are not known to us as members of the public, nor are they directly available to us. Now, a really great example of this is something called a care needs annuity. You may or may not have heard about it before. This is a plan which provides an income to a care provider for the remainder of someone's life in return for a lump sum of money. So it's essentially an insurance policy against living for a very, very long time. Now, once they've been set up, it will pay an income directly to the care provider, meaning that the risk of running out of money is removed. Now, in addition, they also have tax advantages because payments can be made free of tax to any registered care provider, as well as being able to reduce any inheritance tax liability you may have. But they are only available through appropriately qualified financial advisors. Now, other than purchasing a plan such as this, a financial advisor can also look at how successful funding care with cash, income, or investments could be, and they will be able to forecast how long you could expect your money to last. Now, in addition, if you're living in your own home, there may also be ways of releasing equity from your property to pay for care. Now, there are also other methods to pay which are offered by the local authority, one of which is called a deferred payment arrangement. And what it does is it allows someone with very little available capital, very little money, who is living in their own home, it allows them to roll up the cost of the care against their property and then repay the local authority once the property is later sold. Now, a financial advisor qualified in long term care planning will be able to look at all of these options, every single one, which is really important, especially if you're acting as a power of attorney for someone. Because within a power of attorney document, you are required to act within that person's best interests. And without being able to look at all of the options available, it's really difficult to do that. Now, financial advice is not free. Every advisor will have a prescribed list of charges, but they must be transparent and make it clear from the very beginning what you would be expected to pay. You would also need to agree this at outset before they will begin to work with you, so it stops any nasty surprises later down the line. Now, of course, if you ask them to provide services over and above what was originally agreed, then you can expect to pay additional fees. So, for example, if you were to go to a financial advisor and ask them to maximize your income and you set a fee, then halfway through the process, you ask them to do inheritance tax planning as well, you would expect a further charge for that extra piece of work. Now, financial advisors mainly set charges in two ways. So, some charge a set fee for a piece of work, and others will charge a percentage based upon the price of any solution you might look to put in place. Now, they're not allowed to work on a commission basis anymore. They won't get any dividends from certain product providers. And again, that helps protect us as consumers by making sure the advice we get is actually right for us, not the advisors. Now, finally, people sometimes think about giving away some of their money or their property or their income to reduce the amount that they will need to pay towards their care. But a local authority can refuse to pay towards your care, or they can ask you to repay any costs they have covered if they believe that you've done that intentionally. Now, it's what's called or known as deliberate deprivation. So, if the local authority believes that you've reduced your assets or reduced your income to avoid paying for care, then they have a few options. They can either consider the amount of that capital or that income that you gave away within your financial assessment, which is called notional capital or notional income. And what it means is the local authority just treats you as though you still have that money that you've either given away or intentionally spent. Now, each part of the UK will allow you to have some savings that don't count in your financial assessment. But under these notional capital or notional income rules, you may end up spending money on care after all. Because if you try and decide to dispose of it and you get caught, they're going to count it anyway. And that's going to make it harder to pay for your care when you no longer have that money. The second option they have is if you've gifted money away to a person, then the local authority also has the right to try and recover that money from the person you gave it to. So they could demand that they pay for your care up to the value of the amount that you gave them. Um, but essentially, deliberate deprivation is always treated on a case by case basis by the local authority. Again, it's another reason to make sure that you're getting good quality advice to avoid this from happening. Now, if you have wrongly been accused of deliberate deprivation, you do have the right to challenge the local authority's decision. To do this, you just need to contact the local authority and ask for a copy of their complaints procedure and contact details for the local government monitoring officer. You can then make a formal complaint and send a copy to the monitoring officer. And if the local authority does not change its decision, they will explain to you how to take your complaint further to a care ombudsman if you wish to. Now, typically, you have 12 months to make a complaint from the date you receive the local authority's decision that you deprived yourself of assets. The local authority should then respond within 6 months, but often it will be much, much quicker. So that brings me to the end of covering off the main stages of a care journey. Now, to summarize, this can be broken down into four parts. Firstly, remember to get legal capacity to deal with the affairs of your loved ones, and don't forget someone to act on your behalf as well, should you need them to. Secondly, speak to your local authority. As we've heard, there are so many reasons so many ways, sorry, which they can help, and free services which they can provide, and so many reasons to do it. Because remember, they can also check to see if you're eligible for any free care from the NHS, and they can help you make sure you're receiving all the benefits that are available to you. Next, search for your care. Look at lots of different care providers, ask lots of questions, make sure that you visit care communities if you're not looking for care at home. And finally, make sure you seek financial advice. Many people don't because it does come at a cost, but ultimately they are there to make sure that your money works as hard as possible for you and lasts for as long as it possibly can. And we do tend to see, and I have done from experience myself, Those who don't seek financial advice will generally end up paying the price further down the line or relying on loved ones and family and friends to fund their care for them. 1 in 4 of us will run out of money, and the consequences can be devastating. It could lead to a change in care arrangements, the quality of your care, and even the location of where you receive that care. Now, I know there's been a lot of information to take in today, and with so many options available, it can be really, really difficult to understand exactly what's what. But ultimately, we are here to help. Now, at Legal and General, we have something called Care Concierge. The Care Concierge is a team of dedicated care experts that are committed to helping you navigate this challenging journey. Each journey, as you've heard about my own, is a deeply personal experience, and everyone's needs are completely different. Our care service, our concierge team, will aim to understand your specific situation and your requirements and help you work out what options are available to you. Now, your initial telephone conversation is completely free. It's usually around 15 to 30 minutes, but it is completely flexible. And there is no obligation to proceed with any further services afterwards if you don't wish to do so. Some people may wish to just call up and get answers to some questions relating to their circumstances, in which case the free consultation will probably be enough to meet that requirement. Whereas others, they might need more one to one support in lots of different areas. We also have a website with a wealth of useful information on there to help ease the stress and make things as clear as we possibly can for you. Now, if you do want more help, we can offer a range of services and can even work with you to find care homes, find care providers for you to review. We can help liaise with them on your behalf so you can spend more time supporting your loved ones and less time worrying. Or, we can even just give you the information you need to support yourself. So, and beyond, above and beyond the free consultation, there are 3 further levels of support. You'll see these noted in the table. The first column is our guidance tier. So this is a more detailed telephone conversation. In terms of care planning, it will help give you an understanding of what care is needed and how to arrange it. We can offer guidance on typical care costs and the ways of paying for your care. And we will send you an email summary, basically summarizing everything that's been discussed. So it's quite difficult when you're on the phone to remember everything that has been said, probably like it is today, remembering everything I've spoken about. So it's a really good way of just being able to go back and read through the conversation you had and the answers you were given. The next level is our research tier, which is a bit more detailed. So, along with everything provided in guidance, you also get extensive further telephone conversations with the team and your family. So, we can accommodate family members into this. Um, we will also be able to issue out an actual care plan of suitable options and providers that are tailored to your needs and tailored to your budget for you. We can also review all your funding options and relevant benefits for your situation. So we will have a look at doing those eligibility checks. So have you spoken to your local authority? Did you get screened for NHS support? Are you claiming any of the benefits that you're entitled to? And kind of make sure that you are. We'll also detail a personal plan literally tailored to your specific circumstances. So it's not just generic off the shelf information, it is very bespoke to your circumstances. And then finally, we have the liaison tier. Most people generally tend to find that the research tier, the middle tier, does everything they need it to do. But some people might want to be supported in telephone conversations with local authorities or hospitals or social workers or care providers. And it means that we can sit in on those conversations. We can also look to schedule care provider meetings, organise care home tours for you, and look to negotiate care costs on your behalf. So that's the service that we have available. If you do feel we can help you, which we like to think we can, just give us a call or request a callback from us. The details are there on the screen. Our care concierge team can be contacted on that telephone number 0808 163 8880. It is a free telephone number, and we're open Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. So, whatever questions you may have, by all means, just give us a call and we will be happy to help you. Now, I'd like to just close by thanking you all for your time. I hope this has been helpful and you've all learned something new. So, does anyone have now any questions they would like to share? Have we had any questions come in? Right, let's have a look. Here they are. Okay. So let's have a look at your questions. Can I do this myself or do I need a solicitor? That was at the beginning. So I'm guessing, and that you're talking about powers of attorney. If that's the case, powers of attorney can be done yourself. You can do them online and they cost £82 to register them. So hopefully that helps. You can go onto the government.uk website and you can find the forms that you need in there. Hopefully that helps. Some of these I might have actually covered off during the session. How much does it cost to set up a POA? So it's £82, Ellen, as I mentioned before. If you do wish to set up both, so the lasting power of attorney for property and financial affairs and the lasting power of attorney for health and welfare, it's £82 each. Okay. I'm hoping I'll pop up on screen at the minute so you can all say hello to me virtually. Just can you set up a power of attorney at any age? Yes, you can. But you need to be over the age of 18. So as long as you're 18 years old or over, you can set up a power of attorney. And all the time that you have mental capacity to make your own decisions, you can change them. So what I have again seen in my career is people have been setting them up perhaps in their 40s, like myself, very nearly 40. I've been nagging my parents to do one of these for ages. I've finally got them to do it, but actually I really should probably do one for myself as well. Um, I think it's really important to do it as early on as possible and then make changes if you need to. And I think, I'm sure you're all aware of who he is. Michael Schumacher is a very good example of that. He had a catastrophic accident and lost mental capacity literally overnight. So it's not always something that we can identify. It's not something where we always think, oh, okay, mum's getting a little bit forgetful. She's starting to do a few silly things like me and my mother-in-law, I think she put her purse in the fridge and things like that. It's not always like that for everyone. It could be, an accident that renders someone mentally incapacitated and it happens like that. We can't prepare for it. So yes, you can, as long as you're over the age of 18 and you have capacity to do so. Let's have a look. And I think that was the end of those questions. So I have covered off quite a lot. Oh, there's another one here. Bear with me. Is there a best time to set up a power of attorney, i.e., my parents are 70 in good health currently? As I say, I'm very much the sooner you do it, the better. Because with my personal experience, we left it too late. We then had to go to the Court of Protection, which can take ages and it's expensive, as I covered off earlier. So set one up as soon as possible. As I say, you could end up in a situation where you or a loved one is rendered mentally incapacitated very, very suddenly. And if you are left in a position where you don't have those legal powers, the journey is going to be a nightmare. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be really, really hard, much more stressful than it needs to be. So in good health or not, get one set up. It's never too early to get one set up. And I believe now that's all the questions. Telephone number is in the comments if you want to take a note of that. As I say, that initial consultation is free. There are also those other services. So if you do want to have a look at those or access those, that's completely up to you. It might just be that you have some generic questions you want answering. So another new comment just come in. To set up a POA, is it just a case of seeing a solicitor? You can do it two ways. So the first way is you can do it yourself online. You can go onto the government website, and it does have um, two routes on there. So you will have two forms, one for a lasting power of attorney for property and financial affairs, and one for a lasting power of attorney for health and welfare. You'll also have guidance all the way on those forms online telling you how to fill it in, what information you need to put in there, and so on. And you can then just register those online, and it costs £82. If you've got quite complicated um, finances, or perhaps even a complicated family situation. It might be, for example, you've got three children and they don't all speak to each other. Sounds silly, but I've seen it a few times. And you want some really good advice around how to best set up those powers, who you should set them up with, whether they should all act together or not, and so on and so forth. It's probably best to go and speak to a solicitor. But if it's quite easy, I want my kids to be my power of attorney and perhaps my husband or my wife as well. They can all act independently of each other, so they don't all have to agree, and it's quite easy, then you can do it online. But when you go onto that government website, you do get kind of guidance notes for each step of setting up that power of attorney. So do go and have a look. It's surprisingly easy because I did it with my parents. Okay. So I think that's now the end of the questions, unless any more, but I think we're there. Um, Bear with me. I've not run a session before where I've been on YouTube and Facebook and lots of different things all at once. So there's questions coming in from all different websites. So I'm just making sure that I've covered everyone. I don't want to leave the session with someone still wondering of an answer to something that I've missed. I think we're done. Okay. So hopefully it's been helpful. Hopefully you've got some takeaways from that and you've learnt something new. Um, Lovely to be here, and thank you for having me. Have a good day.